What's going on, guys? Coach Gaglione here. There's another edition of the Powerlifting for the People podcast. We got a little bit of a blast from the past. We got Brandon Allen on. What's going on?
What's going on, John? Thanks for having me on, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so for people that maybe are newer, there maybe there's some young bucks listening. Can you give us a little bit of intro, maybe like what you got going on, a little bit of your kind of lifting background?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a former competitive super heavyweight power lifter. I was kind of rising up into the 2010 era. Right around the same time that Larry Wheels, Eric Lillybridge, Brandon Lilly, Dan Green, all these guys were coming up. I grew obviously throughout my career and was a 275er and then a 308er. Never that competitive at 275 or 308. And then when I got to super heavyweight, I'm one of those guys where mass moves mass, and it really translates for me. And that's where my numbers really started going up. Probably my most notorious lift was at the Kern 2018 we were talking about earlier. Me and Larry Wheels were up there on the platform. He had just pulled 881. I was closing out the meet with 887, locked it out, would have won the whole thing, beat Yuri Belkin it, but I dropped the deadlift on the way down. It cost me $30,000 and the meet. And then after that, I went to Big Dogs 3 in Australia, and that's where I squatted 1,008 pounds raw. At the time, I think it was like the third American to do 1,000 pounds raw, walked out, in competition. So, that was a pretty big thing for me. I was the only idiot to not use the monolift in that meet. Everyone else used the monolift. I walked it out. And that was just a principle thing coming from my coach, Chad Wesley Smith, and, the OG guys, watching Kirk Kowalski and, Ed Cohen, they were walking all their big squats. Why can't we? That was kind of thought of it. But anyways, fast forward, I was prepping for Kern 2019 of getting an injury, quad injuries, tore my quad off the bone with a 925 squat. Still locked it out with one leg. 5 months after that, got in a severe motorcycle accident, broke my back, broke my pelvis, cracked my elbow. That was the end of my powerlifting career. But did
you think about coming back at that point, or you kind of knew that was?
Oh yeah, that never goes away, right? It's like football. Like I still have dreams to this day about playing college or high school football. Like it'll never goes away. But yeah, so I had a Filthy Power gym in Las Vegas, and at the time, with my injuries, the gym was doing real well, and we're hosting arm wrestling practices at my gym. I wasn't big into it, but Eric Spoto used to train at my gym. I'm sure you guys know Eric Spoto. And Eric Spoto
really quick, so you're glossing over a lot. I mean, so I know because I got a lot of people. So can you just so for people that don't know, who's Eric Spoto? Because that's a name that some of the I don't even want to say OG, but people that maybe were around in like the earlier 2000s should know. But so who the heck is Eric Spoto?
Yeah, so Eric Spoto was like a 5'10", 300-pound monster out here in Las Vegas that had the all-time world record bench press for many years of 722 pounds raw. So he's he didn't do his first powerlifting meet until he benched 700 pounds. Just to give you an idea of the mindset of this guy. The first time I worked out with him out here in Vegas, I had moved out here, a little over 10 years ago to train with guys like him and Stan Efforting and stuff. I'll never forget the first time I at the gym with Spoto. We're at the Gold's Gym, and it has a 400-pound weight stack, right? And then we're doing rows. And the first set, he goes to 400 pounds, and he's rowing it, and he's talking to me while he does it. And so in my head, I'm like, oh, okay, it must be like multiple pulley type system. It's probably not true in 400 pounds. It's got to be easy. And I get on it, and I can't fucking move the thing. And he's just casually doing it, just to test the strength of this guy. Just built differently. Anyways, though, with Eric Spoto's 722-pound bench comes a 24-inch arm as well. And he's a monster arm wrestler. And at the time, the Las Vegas arm wrestling team didn't have anywhere to practice. So they were practicing at my gym, Filthy Power Gym. And that's where I was like, I always thought arm wrestling was cool. I would see at the expos. I thought it was something I'd like to do, but I just couldn't. Like, I'm a power lifter. Why would I risk a bicep injury or elbow pain or shoulder injury for something that's not, what I do? Yeah. Now that I was kind of in my head, okay, well, you're definitely not going to squat 1,000 pounds anytime soon with the broken, back and pelvis. So arm wrestling just kind of happened. So I just started going to practices that were at my gym, and then did that for, a little bit here and there. And then it wasn't until the end of 2019 where I met Devin Larratt, world champion arm wrestler. he was in town, and Spoto hits me up. He's like, dude, you got to come to the gym tonight. There's a world champion arm wrestler coming. I'm like, I don't care if you're a world champion fucking tennis player. I want to meet you. You know, you're the best in the world at something. So I come and meet him, and I see this guy, 6'6", lengthy dude, abnormally large forearms. And Eric Spoto's like, that guy will fucking kill me in arm wrestling. I'm like, stop it. No, 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 not possible. And I see him arm wrestling, and I'm like, whoa. Okay, so this sport's kind of got me intrigued. You know, at the same time, Larry Wheels had just recently started dabbling in it. So I'm seeing Larry kind of make the conversion. And I don't know, man. It's just kind of, I was like, all right, I want to be competitive, and I still want to lift.
Sure.
I don't know that powerlifting's there, but arm wrestling kind of just happened. So I'm all in arm wrestling now. This is like 2020 and on to today. And you know, I ended up having a match with Larry Wheels at King of the Table 2 out in Dubai. I won that. So, and you know, several other arm wrestling matches, been kind of building up, got a few coming up. But with arm wrestling, the biggest, I never trained biceps ever in my life, like other than doing super heavy swinging hammer curls, like 100 plus pound dumbbells for like grip strength and like forearm strength because of powerlifting. I never did like a concentrated bicep curl, or I never focused on them. I was never a bodybuilder. I just, you know, I trained for, to go muscles, not show muscles, you know, as we say, right? So, you know, in arm wrestling, I was like, fuck, I got to get my arm stronger. And then I started seeing strict curl kind of popping up and people doing the strict curl stuff. And, you know, someone we were talking about earlier, Leroy Walker, who's also a 700-pound raw bench press guy who converted over to arm wrestling and strict curl before arm. He did strict curl first and then arm wrestling. I did arm wrestling and strict curl. So I'm seeing Leroy do it, and I'm like, oh man, this is cool. Get stronger biceps, maybe competing it one day. And then so I dive into strict curl. I start researching that, talking to people, finding out how they're training for it. And you know, I find it's a cool movement. It's a powerlifting movement. You know, there's records for it. It's, you know, it's sanctioned and shit. So I was like, and it's gonna help me in arm wrestling, and it gives me something competitive to do.
Sure.
And it's a new discipline to learn. So I was like, fuck it, I'm in. So started training strict curl, fell in love with it. Just recently hit my first 200-pound strict curl.
That's what. Congrats! It's awesome. And then,
Thank you.
just kind of curious, what do you have? What bar are you using? Are you just using like any like easy bar or like?
Yeah,
what?
no, this is like a super pronated closed grip bar that I feel helps me most of my arm wrestling movements. I recently went and bought a gopher bar because I want to do this in competition.
I'm really curious what you could do on it. So I'm just if you
It's
have,
much different than the bar I'm using. Let's put it that way.
it's definitely different. Yeah, no, I'm still kind of I'm still figuring it out. I'm about to finish off a little 6-week kind of peaking cycle that I kind of made for myself, and my technique has gotten more. I'm still like got a long ways to go. But it's just a different animal, and it can work for, I don't know if you know how much you've used it so far. It can work for or against you, but like when you hit it right, it's like it feels so smooth. But when it starts rolling on you, that thing can it really throw you
Yeah,
in
the
positions.
knurling is too aggressive on the bar as well. And now
Right.
I understand why Leroy always wears gloves. I used to make fun of him for wearing gloves in the gym, but now I understand he's wearing those gloves because the knurling on that gopher bar is
Yeah.
fucking brutal.
Yeah.
And I got really poor mobility, supinated mobility. So the narrow grip is almost too much. I can't do it. And that's kind of where I've been training. So I'm now going to outer. So it's just a totally different lift, man. It would be like benching on a bench press bar and then switching to a Swiss bar. You know, it's like it's just going to be a little different.
Sure.
So I'll be adjusting for that. And I have a really big match coming up in 3 weeks. So I got the bar maybe 2 weeks ago. I've hardly used it because I don't want to be working anything new leading into this big match and like to possibly strain or something like that,
Sure.
or tweak. But after my match on January 6th, then I'm going to be really tackling the gopher bar and trying to make that the bar I feel comfortable with. So, because again, only because I want to compete with it one day. But yeah, dude. So I don't know how you're training for your strict curl, but I find it very similar to bench press on how you would train bench press in terms of frequency, maybe a little more frequency. Maybe like instead of like a hard day and a medium day, you can kind of have 2 harder days. I'm finding you can overload it pretty well and the muscles recover pretty quickly, which is nice. You know, I mean, when you're squatting 900 plus pounds, you know, it's so taxing the CNS. You have to really be diligent with your programming and be smart to manage your CNS fatigue. With strict curl, it's almost like training when you're in high school. You can kind of go fucking hard, you know what I mean, all the time. And I like that. I like that about it. It just kind of helps please the ego. But But again, so now, and I'm doing arm wrestling. That's the primary focus. The strict curl has made my biceps much, much stronger than they've ever been. It's really helping me on the table. So what's the next weakest link for me? My hands. I notoriously have had weak hands in terms of what my body can do. The most biggest deadlift I did was 887 with scraps. I probably could have done north of 950. I wish I had done it at the time, but I was such a meathead, back then, where it was like, if you can't hang on to it, you can't lift it. And and I was a competitor, and it wasn't like I tapered down my competitiveness from powerlifting. It was like all in 100%. This is all my life. This is all I do, to it's done. You know what I mean? The motorcycle like just ended it. So it kind of sucks. I wish I could have like experimented, done like a real heavy push press. I always had a really heavy, a strong, strict overhead press. But there's a few things I wish I had done before I lost all that strength and whatnot. But anyways, hands were always the weakest link. I could deadlift much more than I can hang on to in terms of my back strength and whatnot. But so I start looking into arm lifting, which arm lifting is what you would probably consider grip sport or grip training type stuff. That's a whole nother world there. It's a whole different world. So, and it's going to help me in arm wrestling. It's going to help me in strict curl. The stronger your wrists are, the easier you can help maintain position on that bar and whatnot. So, yeah, right now I'm just kind of doing all these little things. You know what I mean? Just the grip shit every day. That's one thing I like about grip training too. I hired Jed Johnson. I don't know if you're familiar, but he's the grip guy.
Yeah, I know. So this is just an aside. And so Jed's are actually a really, really good buddy of mine. So he's like an East Coast guy, and so he's awesome. So no, I'm glad that you guys connected. I think he's like the best, and he's just super passionate about like, I mean, as far as if you want to like learn grip stuff, I mean, he's the guy. So
yeah, he's smart. He's articulates things well, and tons of experience and stronger than fuck. I peep his videos. I'm like, let's see, am I strong at these lifts? Am I even good at them? I watch a couple of Jed Johnson videos. You're like, oh, I got a lot of work to do. Not even close. So, but yeah, so I hired Jed for 6 months, worked with him. I know how to recognize patterns. I know how strength works. Picked it up pretty well. I've just been implementing my own philosophies along with what I learned with Jed and everyone else, and my grip training is improving dramatically. It's going up. I'm hitting PRs all the time on it. So, but it's another one that I learned: very high frequency, very high intensity, and low volume. What ex powerlifter doesn't like the sound of that? Going heavy all the time and not a lot of reps, like sounds fucking awesome. So that's grip training in a nutshell. The stronger my hands get, the better I get at arm wrestling, the better my strict curl can get, the better I get at arm wrestling. All these things are just kind of working together.
Cool.
But yeah, you asked me earlier about if I ever want to get back into powerlifting. I kind of glanced over it. I absolutely wanted to get back into powerlifting many times. That I think that was a real possibility. In fact, beginning of was it 2023? No, I don't think. I think it was 2022. 2022. That's right. It's been that long. I was feeling real good and strong again. I remember one day I squatted 685 for a 3x3, completely raw, naked knee, and I was like, all right, I'm feeling pretty good. I bet with a proper peak, I could probably hit an 800-pound squat. You know what I mean? And in a short, 12-week cycle or something like that. And this was at the time I was completely natural. I'd come off all gear, I'd come off TRT and everything, and it just when you're used to running at a high magnitude, the body really just doesn't like it when you don't have that. So I'm used to running around like 900 to 1100 nanograms per deciliter to running at like 100 to 120. Things just kind of started falling apart. I had a squat day that didn't go, that my, like I said, I was feeling strong. The next week, I think I had an AMRAP maybe a couple of weeks later, I had an AMRAP like 635. And on like the 7th or 8th rep, my hip popped. It made like an audible pop. And I was like, oh, fuck. So I rack it. And I was sure I tore something. I was positive, John. We are like, I was like, no, that was a tear. Yeah. So I'm, it's a ton of pain. I go and have an MRI, no tear. What I have is really bad bursitis and arthritis and whatnot, just from the motorcycle accident, years of abuse and in the gym and everything like that. So,
well, one thing I just want to I just want to just highlight a couple of things too. And this is, to your credit, and I want to kind of revisit a couple of things. You kind of covered a lot of ground. You squatted a grand, and probably, I don't know, how many times have you done like north of like 900 in competition? Do you know off the top of your head, or?
Maybe like 4 times, maybe 4 or
Yeah,
5. I squatted 900 in sleeves several times in the gym as well.
so, one of the things, and this is not a knock on you, this is not on anyone. I know, like, JP Price is another one, and I would say this to him. So, like, one of the things with like the standard of lifting, I think, has gotten better, and you guys have like held that great. But one of the things that I'm like kind of wondering too, you guys are taking like a grand it to the bucket, and like what that kind of does to like your hip and so I think that's something to consider too, because even like for myself, like I actually had a spotting, I don't know if you want to call it an accident, a mishap, whatever. I was grinding out like like 830, and this is in equipment, so I mean I'm more protected, but still 830 pounds, or it was 825, something in that. It's
That's to
north,
kill you.
it was north of 800. So I'm grinding it out, and one of the spotters gets a little nervous and shoves me this way. So only one side grabbed it. So now I have all this, I have 820 pounds on like one hip. So to this day, sometimes I'll just be walking and it'll, it's just like, so I mean, all that like weight just got smashed onto one, so like just shit like that, like happen. You don't even real, and so, you're carrying a grand, you're carrying 900 pounds. So, I mean, it's just wear and tear is going to happen when you're using those kind of, these are like, these are weights, and especially raw, like there's not like a lot of, you guys are like kind of like the experiment because
Test study. Yeah, there was no
uh,
one doing this prior. I
so
remember Andre Mahalichev squatted 1,000, and we're like, "Oh shit, okay, it could be done." And there was 3 or 4 of us that did it in the next couple months.
yeah, it's crazy. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there because there's no, like, we don't really know, like someone like Jesus Oliveras, like I don't, like, what's he gonna look like at 30, at because he's doing this stuff at such a young age, and he's like, dunking it, and he's doing, I mean, so regardless of like whatever tested, whatever, it's 1,000 pound squat, and it's like, and it's we don't really know like what that's going to do to the body like long term. Jen Thompson's another one. She's had some pretty bad like hip issues and stuff like that, and she's doing phenomenal. So like I just kind of wonder, especially with like the heavy squatting. So that's like one of the things, and we'll kind of get into it a little bit later. I do think like as if you're 35 plus, you've been doing this a while, something like you talked about the arm lifting, grip sport, strict curl. These are just some other options we could still, because we still want to stay competitive. So I think that's important. But anyways, so you said you were kind of trying to get back into powerlifting. You felt that pop in your hip, and then
Yeah, that
yeah,
was the bursitis and the tendonitis, and that's when I'm diagnosed with it on it, or no tear. I'm like, okay, cool. This is before I pulled Larry in Dubai. So another practice, an arm wrestling practice, dipping down to pin someone, my hip popped again. I was nervous to go to Dubai. I had a cortisone shot. I started getting cortisone shots regularly, which I fucked up because then I would just train hard because it didn't hurt, and I'd make it way worse, and the cortisone would wear off. And then I remember even in Dubai, in my match in Dubai, my hip popped one of the matches with Larry, and yeah, it's just one of those things, man. It's not going to let me. So mind you, I've been working on this, like slowly working on it, going hard, like just trying doing everything I can, the stretching and whatnot. And then just recently, it's been feeling good again. I got back on TRT. Actually, I'm on a cycle right now, but before that, I was just back on TRT, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm feeling really good again. I'm feeling strong. Maybe I can do a powerlifting meet one day. Maybe that's a realistic thing. Because again, when you've been at the top of something, it's hard to do it at a mediocre level. I would want to do at least a 2,000 pound raw total if I made a return. And so I'm in the gym. I took 4 plates on a squat bar, so with 415 for a ride. I did like a comfortable set of 12. Felt really good. I was like, oh man, all right, that felt good. No pain anywhere. A couple days later, I pulled 500 on a hex bar for like 15 reps, like not a conservative AMRAP, nothing too crazy. I'm like, all right, I'm feeling good. I think I can maybe switch to a straight bar and start, pushing these a little harder. And then like 2 days later, like I'm like, oh man, my hip's a little fucking tight. And I notice it, right? And then the next day I can't move, dude. It's like most pain it's ever been, and like the injury freshly happened. It was very strange on how suddenly or slowly and then suddenly it onset. And it was so, but my wife's a massage therapist. It was so bad. I lay on the table and she goes to work on me and barely touches my hip, and I about fucking jumped through the window. It just so much pain. And I think I kind of, accept it, like, it might not be in the cards for me, man. And again, there's, like I said, I just named 3 other fucking sports that I'm being competitive in currently. So it's, I kind of did it. Maybe it's time to let that one go. maybe bench only or something like that could be a possibility if I get my bench back up. But I'll be honest with you, you cannot be a good bencher and be a good arm wrestler. It's just, I mean, at least for you, well, what's good for you. There could be some freak that benches 600 and is a good arm wrestler just because, but he could be benching 700 if he didn't arm wrestle. You know what I mean? The point I'm making, because it's just it's so hard to explain the pain in the elbows. But okay, I guess the best way, low bar squat elbow pain, times that by 20 all the time directly into your elbow. That's what it feels like from arm wrestling training.
Can you I guess maybe because for the people there'll be an audio version and a visual version. Maybe if you could, I think people don't realize the amount of torque that's put on, like that, the rotational force. I don't know if you want to like point to like where the pressure is, or like
yeah, well, like I said, it would be the exact same area that you get pain from a low bar squat because of the external shoulder rotation that happens pulling on that part. And so it's very similar to that pain. It's just, amplified by, like, imagine just going onto the barbell and just cranking your arm on it over and over and over and over.
And the difference is that, you don't get to pick like what, so if you're going against someone like Devin, who's going to he's not going to play nice, I mean, so you're going to get wrenched. So like, that's like one of the things where when I know you said you mentioned you played football, going from like a sport that's, wrestling was my sport. I did play football, but I was a better wrestler. Transitioning from a sport that's very chaotic and you have to kind of like adjust your opponent to something that's very like predictable and like you're kind of in control of. You could be as crazy or as conservative as you'd like, which I think is good for extending your kind of career. But yeah, now you're transitioning back into something where you actually have a live opponent, you need to kind of like counter their moves and stuff like that. So what has that been like mentally to kind of go from more of like, a solo sport to something where you actually have a physical opponent that you actually have to like kind of counter and
so
a little strategy, a lot more strategy than people think.
Right. Yeah. So to what you said, like, I know what 815 pounds feels like because it's uncalibrated kilo plates. It's going to weigh the same here as it's going to weigh in Australia, as it's going to weigh wherever else. So, what to expect and you know what you're capable of. Now, arm wrestling, you have no fucking clue. You could be seeing each other doing the gym lifts and have an idea on that particular lift and how strong he is, but you don't even know if he's going to know how to apply that strength to the table, because you can do something as simple as turning someone's hand like this, and now they're completely different power than when their hands like this or like the, it's arm wrestling is like jujitsu for the wrist. That's the best way to describe it. And you don't have to be stronger than the other guy. You just have to make sure you don't let the other guy get to a spot that he's stronger than you at, if that makes sense. So it is, it's so much scarier. Every match I've had, because I'm the strong powerlifter converted over, you're gonna get killed. You suck. This guy's so much better than you. Even my match with Larry, this is what I always hear, that I've been hearing for the last three years I've been in the sport. And it gets to you, man. And you start to think like, fuck, am I gonna get killed? Like, and it's just way scarier than a powerlifting meet in terms of like the humiliation. And like I have a match on January 6th, like, I doubt too many arm wrestlers are going to be big watchers of this show. This is going to be more of the strength powerlifting world, so I can say it, but I'm nervous as fuck. Like, I think this dude is, like, on paper, this dude's going to kill me. He's been arm wrestling for 20 years. He's way better than me. He's supposed to beat me. And you start to believe that a little bit, but I think that's just probably me and my competitive nature. I use that for field training, like I like being the underdog. I like thinking I'm out of place because I'm going to go 10 times harder in the gym. And then when I prove them wrong, it makes me happy. And again, I will be unconfident for this match all the way up until it happens. Like all the way up until the night before, I'm not going to sleep well. I'll be thinking about it over and over again. It'll terrify me walking out there. But as soon as it starts, that's where I'm like, okay, this is what you've been training for. He can only do the same things you can do. Let's just do it better than him or do it stronger than him, right? So, but yeah, to touch on what you say, like mentally, it's way harder mentally to be competitive. Now going into a backyard, drinking beer, having fun, barbecue, arm wrestling, that's fucking awesome. That's like going with your buddies to go to have a good gym lift, maybe film a YouTube video. You look forward to that. It's not stressful. But now people are flying you to places. Now you have a financial obligation to them. Now you have fans in it. They want to see you do well. You start, it starts piling on, and as things get closer, you're like, fuck, dude. Like right now, it's Christmas. I'm stressed the fuck out. Just thinking about my match, that's all I think about. I wake up, I think about it, I go to sleep, I think about it. I know the guy I'm arm wrestling, I know he has 5 kids. I don't. I know he's not going to be able to train as much as I can. Can he just be genetically be that much better and on a higher level? 100% absolutely. But I know I'm going to do every little thing I fucking can to get there. And then, you have your days where you're recovering and you're like, am I wasting time? Should I be doing more? You know how it is, man. It's a mental fuck when you compete.
Yeah, well, I think for me, like going from wrestling to powerlifting was very helpful because I don't know, man. There's something about just getting like your ass kicked and like and then like it's humbling, especially if you have a guy that maybe is physically like less impressive than you or he doesn't look like much. And sometimes you get like a wiry guy in wrestling too that just like they just have good technique or they have good leverage. And you're like Devin's a good example where like
Yeah.
his gym lifts are not like, you know,
Not impressive.
not
Nope.
really great, but like he's just like a savage and he knows how to get you in a compromised position.
He
And
knows how to take you out. He make put you in a spot where you're not strong.
yeah. And that's like, and I think that's a lot of like, like you kind of mentioned jujitsu and wrestling, like, really good, like grapplers kind of know like how to kind of put you in those positions and kind of counter you. And yeah, it's just really interesting. So anyways, what I was saying, and we were kind of like, talking, I think that like, cause I was never like a great lifter, but I've accomplished some great things. I did 1,000 pound squat in training in the suit, done 900 in competition. So like, I could be proud of those things, I've totaled elite in 4 weight classes. So like, again, not to the level I'm a better coach than I'm a lifter, but I've accomplished a lot and I'm proud of like what I've accomplished. But what I see like a lot of people, and I'm sure you see this too, especially the younger lifters that kind of go like right into powerlifting that never had like a real sports background. They don't like have it like between the years. A lot of times they don't have like, it's like powerlifting is not like that like complicated. It's not like
Very simple.
it shouldn't be. And I do think, and again, I'm sure we're both guilty of like maybe taking it like too serious or whatever. But I think
Totally.
it should be fun. It should be so like try to like that's like one thing I try to like kind of instill. It's like guys, it's like this is like enjoy it while you have it and kind of take your time, be patient. So I don't know if you have any like um if you have advice if like for someone that's starting out in kind of their lifting journey, like or maybe some mistakes that you've made, or if if you can kind of go back and maybe do things better. What would you tell someone that's starting out?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm guilty of wanting it all right now. Typical American millennial mindset. We want instant gratification. And yeah, I push things a little too hard, especially earlier in my career in terms of PEDs and the force feeding to get bigger and stronger at any cost. Definitely jeopardized my health. 2016, I remember I had a big scare on the platform. I coughed up blood on my opening squat. I didn't bite my tongue or anything. Just had so much internal pressure in my stomach that it bled. um and then I was like, okay, like, there's smarter ways of doing this. I really pulled back the gear, really started just letting my body do the work and, prioritizing sleep. I'd say that's the one thing that is the most underrated thing in all strength sports, and that's sleep. If you're running gear and you get to a point where the gear is inhibiting your sleep,
Yep.
you're counterproductive because you would recover so much better if you're getting the proper sleep. In reality, we take the steroids mainly for recovery and other reasons as well, but the recovery is a big factor. And at this time in my life, I'm 35. I've been as heavy as 375 pounds. I've been as low as 232 pounds earlier this year, and now I'm around 300. But now I realize how important sleep is. I sleep minimum 8 hours a night with a CPAP. Throughout my powerlifting career, I had a CPAP towards the end there when I was in the 360s, 370s. I never wore it because I was so claustrophobic. I never slept. My eyes were black all the time. I couldn't drive 2 miles to the gym without falling asleep at the stoplights. Like, it was narcoleptic to the max. I'd fall asleep in the middle of conversations, in the middle of podcasts. Yeah, so prioritize sleep, man. Like, I can't stress that one enough. And just here I am at 35 telling you, oh, just it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like every asshole told me when I was your age, and I thought you were a fucking idiot. And I wish I had done that a little better because
So
I could still be competing right now.
sure. I think the sleep is a big one. I use a CPAP, and I think honestly, if you're like over 200 pounds, I think it's worth like looking into.
Get a sleep study. Just go find out.
It's not like that hard. So I think people like, so I agree with you 100%. I also wanted to kind of touch on your body weight a little bit because even though I know that you've put some weight back on recently, but you're still a far cry from as big as you were. So like
Oh yeah.
did that just kind of happen like naturally, like when you knew that you were kind of injured, or like, I just want to hear a little bit about like the weight loss, and maybe are you doing anything different with like your diet, like how you're eating, like what are some changes or some advice? Because I know I was there too. I was 340 at like much at 5'8", which is like crazy to think, but so I think we all kind of like it takes some time to figure out like where the optimal range is. So like, what are you doing with your eating? What have you done with your diet? And kind of any advice for people that are trying to get bigger, but also they don't want to like completely compromise, their health at the same time.
So vertical diet by Stan Efferding. It's the easiest, the best way. You it's cliche, but you need to learn to change your lifestyle rather than just dieting. Like I've been on vertical diet for 4 years or so now. And even when I was competing, I was doing the vertical diet, but not balls to the wall. I was doing other shit as well. I needed calories, you know what I mean? But basically the fundamental principles of it is just like white rice, red meat, eggs, bone broth, and some micro nutrient stuff. And it's very basic, very easy to do.
And the digestion piece I think is big too. So you're not like you're not eating pizza,
Bloated, gassed out all the time. Yeah.
You're not eating a bunch of junk. So you're still eating a good amount you're still fueling yourself for performance, but not at the expense of just like, you have to go to the toilet every 2 seconds and your stomach's always like effed up. So
I can almost guarantee none of you are eating enough protein. If you're not on some kind of diet regimen, you're not eating enough protein. You're probably eating less than half of what you should be eating. So that's one thing. Once I really started paying attention to my protein intake and I switched to like just eating ground beef and stuff that's easy to swallow, it just really made things easier for me, man. It really improved my life. Meal prepping is the only way. Like it's the only way to do it. If you don't have prep meals, you will make bad decisions. If the meals it's already decided what you're eating today, it's really easy to do it. Grab it, throw some water in it, throw it in the microwave, eat it. It's just if you leave yourself room for error, you're gonna have errors. Well, and another advice I could give you on the whole diet thing is 80% of the way is perfect, right? So the best diet is the one you're gonna follow. So I could write you the perfect diet, man. And if you're not going to fucking stick to it, it's completely useless and it's pointless. But let's say I give you a good diet, but I give you some guidelines like, hey, man, you can have one cheat meal a day, keep it under 700 calories or keep it under 1,200 calories, depending on the person or things like that. That goes a long way because when you try to go too regiment and then let's say you go 4 or 5 days, couple weeks in a row, perfect. You get invited to a party, you're out late. This is the only option. You eat like shit. The next day, you're like, well, I already ate like shit. I might as well do it again. And then you're downhill. So best advice I could give you is if you do it 80% of the way, you're doing it perfect.
Cool. And is there like a body weight that you kind of feel like best at as far as like performance and just like day to day like stuff, or I'm just kind of
300 I feel the best for strength and like overall like okay, so general health okay, strength really good. My general health could go down by getting heavier and my strength even better, and then my strength could go down and my general health can go up a little bit.
So
if I'm being honest, probably 275 is where I should be walking around at, feeling good, sleeping well, not getting winded, going up fucking big flights of stairs. I mean, I do cardio every day and whatnot. Don't get me wrong. It's just, you do it a little, breathing a little fucking heavy. So 275 would probably be the proper weight for me. But again, if I want to be competitive in strength sports, I just think 300 to that number that works.
So do you have, because I know Stan and like Mark Bell and stuff were kind of proponents of this. After like a big contest, do you try to get a little bit of weight off, or are you just trying to stay at like around 300 right now? Is that
I'll bulk up a bit for a match and then try to come back down after. So I think like I don't think I know you're stronger than a caloric surplus. Like that's not a secret.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You're right. So going into anything, like if let's say I want to compete, I want to be 300 at the competition, I should be training then at like 280, 285. So that way, that last week or two, when I really taper down the workload and I'm not burning as much calories and I'm eating more, I will jump up to that 300 mark or something like that. You know what I mean? But if the weight doesn't really matter and I just need to be heavy and strong, I usually say I want to gain 8 to 12 pounds the last 2 to 3 weeks when I'm slowing down. And then right after that, maybe lose 20. So I'll be down about 10 pounds from where that one point was. And then,
you have room to grow again. So that's, I think like, and I've done this. And part of that was like, part of my weight loss journey was like, I just was establishing totals, like kind of on the way down. I went all the way to 198 and I just felt too like frail at 198, but I felt my best performances were like 220 or 242. But my best total, on I kind of gained like into like 242. So that's where I think a lot of like newbies make the mistake of like they're kind of limiting themselves in the peaking phase when like you really need those calories. So I'd rather see people like, you know, a lot of times we're like we kind of mentally need like a little bit of a break like after a competition, but if you spread out your competitions a little bit more, you could have that like because I feel like a lot of these younger kids they don't like have like an off season. They don't have like time to
Yeah, they just want to keep competing. I coach kids and I deal with this all the time. It drives me crazy. I got to run, but I want to get one more thing in real
yeah,
quick.
absolutely.
Yeah, this is the thing that pisses me off the most with young lifters. Well, Brandon, I'm not competitive in the 198, so I'm gonna say at 181. Hey, dog, you ain't competitive at 181. What the fuck are you talking about? Be as strong as you can. I don't care if you weigh 8 pounds over the weight class. You're in no position to be cutting weight and being in a caloric deficit, losing weight before a match. This is just my personal beliefs. You should always be coming in full, coming in heavy for you and what that is for you. Now, you're Kevin Oak, you're Dan Green, you're cutting 20, 40 pounds, breaking world records. You don't need to take advice from me. You know what the fuck you're doing. But the younger guys coming in, just show up full, have a good fucking time. Don't worry about the weight class. I promise you, there's probably some chick out there that's stronger than you in your own weight class. So just, do what you can do, the best you can do. And guess what? When you go and tell your non-powerlifting friends, hey, I squatted 600 pounds this weekend, but at what weight class? They're not going to ask you that. They're not going to fucking ask you that.
Awesome, man. Where and we can definitely do a part two at some point. I'd love to kind of
Yeah. I got a Christmas party to run to.
Yeah, absolutely. Where can people find you? Like your Instagram or your if you want to plug your gym or anything else?
Yeah, so I don't have the gym anymore with COVID, took care of that, but I do private coaching out of my house out here in Las Vegas.
Awesome.
You can Instagram is where I'm the most active. It's Brandon Allen Filthy Power, all one word. And then you can find me on YouTube, the same thing, Brandon Allen Filthy Power. You're going to see a lot of grip stuff, a lot of arm wrestling stuff, and some old powerlifting lifts. If you're interested in that, you'll probably like my channel. And then you'll see a lot of dog memes as well in the stories. But if you're interested in my training or my programs, I have templates, pre-made templates available at filthypowerindustries.com. I have strict curl peaking templates, off-season templates, powerlifting templates, arm wrestling templates, all grip sport, all that kind of stuff. So I have a grip program. It's on sale for $10 right now. Some stuff you can do at the end of your workouts in any commercial gym. If that's something you're interested in, go check it out. But again, if you have any other questions, DM me privately on Instagram, and that's where I'd be the most responsive.
Yeah, man, definitely keep me posted. Good luck with your match and keep me posted on the training. I'll be following you. It's great catching up. And yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year for at the time of this recording. So we're getting ready for next year. So thank you guys so much for listening. If you guys enjoyed it, please give it a 5-star review. Please share it. Thank you so much. Until next time, stay strong. And we'll see you
Later,
soon.
John.